And I am back with another one. Tonight we're going to be talking about that Clarissa Shields fight and that Tony Harrison's comeback. Let me make sure you guys can hear me. Actually, let me make sure that actually go to my channel real quick. So give me 1 second. Let everybody come in. Second. Let everybody come in. Okay, so I just want to make sure you guys can hear me loud and clear. Okay, so I just want to make sure you guys can hear me loud and clear. All right, so I can definitely be heard. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna wait for a few people to jump in, and I'm waiting on my guest to come in, and we're gonna talk about um the Clarissa Shields fight, and the comeback with Tony Harrison tonight. So I'm not going to be long. We're just going to have a brief talk about tonight's fight. It was a good fight. Clarissa Shields always brings always bring the city out. She went in and defended her title. It was a pretty good fight. So before I start talking about it, I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I'm waiting on Real Talk with Big Dave to join me over here in this conversation, before I get started. So I just need for you guys to, like I said, comment, subscribe, and share before we get to talking. It was a good fight tonight, all the way around. It was some pretty interesting fights, but we're just going to talk about the main event and the co-main event, two pretty good, decent fights. And what I will do, I will start talking about I'll start talking about the Tony Harrison fight. You know, um, Tony Harrison was making a comeback, from 2 years ago, where he was coming off of a loss. So he was making his comeback, and what better way to make your comeback, from the city that you were in, so I'll just give you a quick synopsis on that fight. He pretty much dominated the fight. Um, I'm not gonna say dominated the fight, but he was winning the whole fight all the way up until he won the whole fight. Put it that way, But his whole thing was he has a to me he has a problem, or not a problem. His chin, that motherfucker chin is Glass Joe, and it seems to be really his last three fights. He's always been going down in the ninth round, and the commentators was talking about that, right before that happened. You know what I mean? And this motherfucker went down again. It was a pretty good fight. The young man that fought him, I can't think of his name right now. I'll have to look it back up, but it was a really good fight. And like I said, Tony Harrison pretty much dominated the fight. He was coming off of a 2 year layoff. But to me, um, did he look impressive in that fight? I'm gonna say no, he didn't. He looked like the Tony Harrison of old, and it showed. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to come back and make a comeback, because his record, I believe he was 30-1, and his only loss was to one of the Charlo brothers. In that fight, he actually had won. You know what I mean? And should have won that fight if he wasn't out there showboating. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I'm just sitting here waiting on my host to come in. I'm waiting on Real Talk with Big Day to come join me. We're gonna talk about the Clarissa Shields fight, for a hot second. I just want to come in and, and talk to you guys for a little bit, but the comment section is open. Tell me what you guys thought about that Tony Harrison fight. Tell me what you thought about that Clarissa Shields fight. And I'll go ahead and start it off. Like I said, I'm waiting on Real Talk with Big Dave to come on in, and he'll come on in and join me. But it was all around a great fight. It was a decent undercard. It was a pretty entertaining night. Clarissa Shields always brings the city out. So it was a good fight. This young woman that she was fighting, I believe her name was Hannah Laney, I believe. In the first, really, I'll say the first 1 through 4, Hannah was running, she was putting on the track meet. She didn't want to get up in there and mix it up, early, which was smart. Why would you get in there, Clarissa early and try to mix it up, So she really fought a smart fight, and it was a good fight, But to me, in the end, she did not have enough power to be able to overcome what Clarissa was bringing at her, because Clarissa, and she's really not a knockout artist, and that's what a lot of people don't really understand about her. Most of her fights go the distance. She only has, I believe, three knockouts. You know what I mean? But she's a spectacular fighter. She's always in there, just giving you, nothing but contact. She's always active. And tonight's fight, she fought a really good fight. She had to keep her composure because Hannah was running the whole fight, like I said, pretty much from the beginning. She was just pretty much trying to survive until the later rounds. You know, but the skills of Clarissa was too much for her to handle. She was hitting her with a lot of uppercuts, a lot of body shots, and that I really thought that Clarissa was probably going to stop her with. But, that was a tough girl. I believe she was from if I'm not I don't want to get it wrong, but Ireland, and she was a tough young woman. I believe she was like 11-2. And she really didn't have that many knockouts neither. She was more of a boxer. So it fitted the style of Clarissa. Clarissa knew that she would have to come in there, and cut the ring off, and that's what she had to do in the later rounds is cut that ring out, But for the most part, it was a really good, entertaining fight. I can't say Hannah, because she's a smart fight. She did not allow herself to get knocked out. She came in shape. She put on a pretty good fight. So I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Tell me what you think about tonight's fight. Clarissa always brings the city out. It was a good night for boxing. She put on the show, and tonight was her last night under her current manager that she's been with since she was, I believe, 16. Since she started boxing. So it's going to be an interesting. Future seeing what happens with her going forward. And then not only that, we've been hearing the talks between her and Layla Ali. So I need for you to definitely tell me what you guys think about that. Do you think that fight will happen? Do you think Layla is going to actually accept that fight? Because last I heard is Layla said she needed 8 months to be able to get in shape. So it sounds like to me that Layla is preparing herself to be able to get in shape to get in there with Clarissa, because to me, Clarissa, she don't went from middleweight, probably lighter than that, all the way up to heavyweight. And she's just been really dominating that whole the whole boxing thing. You know what I mean? From her weight class all the way up to heavyweight. Every division, I should say. Um, and I'm not going to say it's not, there's no competition out there for her, but, to me, it's really hard for her to get fights, and I understand, because she's the GOAT. She go out there and handle her business, so I want first and foremost, I want to give a thumbs up to Clarissa. I want to congratulate her on doing her thing tonight. She put up a good fight, had a good fight, got another W. She's still out there doing her thing. So I just want to come on for a little bit, talk about that. It definitely was a good, entertaining fight tonight. And I want to definitely talk about that Tony Harrison fight. What do you think about that Tony Harrison fight? Do you think there was a good fight overall? Do you think he should continue? Because he continues to get knocked down in that ninth round. I don't know what it is about Tony Harrison in that ninth round, because really that Charlo fight, he had that fight won. If he was able to continue to hold his composure and stay in there and not try to showboat and wouldn't have got caught, who knows where his career will be at now. But one thing I will say, he got the W. He did what he had to do to get that win. You know what I mean? Even though he almost got stopped. Yeah, but the chat is open. Let me know where you guys are checking in from. Like I said, I'm waiting on Real Talk with Big Dave to come in. And we're just gonna chop it up a little bit more and talk about a little bit more about this Claressa Shields fight. It was a good fight overall. Like I said, old girl was running. It was a track meet going on. But in the last, I really say that last 4 rounds, both fighters settled in. And they were literally trading blows. Like the last few rounds, old girl Hannah, she was trading blows with Clarissa. I'm not gonna say she wasn't scared, but she did what she had to do to be able to survive. She went the distance, and a lot of women can't do that. Yeah. Rick Ross walked Claressa Shields out to the ring. That was a good look. It was a good night. Everybody had a good night. Papoose was there, and like it was just a good look for the city. The city was jumping. All like always. Let me send Real Talk with Big Dave another invite. Yep. So like I said, I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. If you're not a subscriber to the show, hit that subscribe button, please. So give me your input on tonight's fight. What do you think? The chat is open. I definitely love when you guys interact with the comments. I love interacting with you guys. What up, though, Vito? What you think about what happened? The Clarissa Shield fight. You ain't check it out? I know you a good, I know you a boxing fan. It was a good night for boxing fans tonight. You had Clarissa Shields and you had Tony Harrison making his 2-year layoff comeback tonight. And there were victories for both parties. Yeah. See, and I just I had to watch the fight on my way home from work tonight, but it was two really good fights tonight. The fight card, the whole fight card was pretty decent, but it was the really two main events. You had Tony Harrison, he made his 2-year layoff comeback tonight, and then you had Clarissa, she was fighting Laney. Let me go back and look it up. Because I want to give her old girl her credit for her fight tonight. But no, Vito, it was a good fight. Clarissa won. It went to her name was Laney Daniels. They went the whole 12 rounds, but it was a good fight, action packed fight. It was a sellout crowd at Little Caesars Arena. The city showed up. Rick Ross, he walked her out tonight. You know what? You want to come in live with me, Vito? Because I was waiting on one of my homeboys to come in and talk about this fight, but he may or may not come in. So if you want to come in live with me, matter of fact, here, I'm about to send you a link. All right, come on in. I sent you the link. Chop it up with your boy. But yeah, like I said, it was a good night for the city. Clarissa came out, she did her thing. She was victorious. My question is, will it sounds like to me Lalea accepted that $15 million offer. That's what I was waiting on Real Talk with Big Dave to come on in. You chilling? Come on in, homeboy. I sent you the link. Come on in and chop it up with your boy. So well, if you Well, at least answer this question then. I would love for you to come on in and chop it up with me. But to me, it sounds like Leah is. She said she need 8 months to get in shape for this fight. To me, it sounds like she's going to take that offer. Why wouldn't she take that 15 million? We know she's a little up there in age, but at the end of the day, that 15 million, she didn't make that in her whole career. Why wouldn't she take that fight? Yeah, but I sent you the link, man. Come on in. I would love for you to come on in, chop it up with me. I would love to get your input, your take. But I'll get back on tonight's subject. Was it a knockout? No, she didn't get the knockout tonight. It went the whole 10 rounds. Excuse me, it was a good fight. Old girl was running. It was a track meet the first 4 rounds. They were pretty much trying to figure each other out. They settled in from 7 through 10. I'll say from 7 to 10. Old girl, she said Hannah is what I should say. Hannah, she fought a decent fight. 7 through 10. She did not run. She stood there and tried 2 rounds. But yeah, Marvin, if you want to, I mean, yeah, Vito, if you want to come on in. Yeah, but like I said, at the end of the day, female Devin Haney is who she fought. You said who? Her challenger? Yeah, the person that she fought was a female Devin Haney. She was running. But overall, that's what I'm trying to figure out who you were talking about. But no, overall, tonight's overall Clarissa Shields fight her Hannah was a good fight. I can't complain. It was a pretty entertaining fight. That's all you can ask for. She did her best. Clarissa went out there and handled her business. And tonight was her last contract up under the promoters that she's been with since she was 16 years old. So going forward, you know, um, that's in the air like who's going to be her next managing team. Which it sounds like they may resign. Because she's been with them for some years. But I would love to see that Leia Ali fight with Clarissa. You know, would you like to see that fight, Vito? Would you like to see that fight in Detroit? Because more than likely, if that fight do go down, it probably would be in Vegas, but it would be nice if it was in Detroit. Would you go to that fight? Would you pay to see it if it was in Vegas? Because you got to ask yourself this question: how long do Clarissa got out there? I believe she just turned 30 years old. You know, there's really no competition out there for her. So this Leia fight may be a big fight for her. Leia get paid. They'll both get paid. Um, it'll be it'll be like a history, within female boxing. Because you know um she's already labeled the GOAT, and when Leia was out there, she was pretty much labeled the GOAT, so it'll be an entertaining fight. I think Layla, even though she's 50, I think she still got it, because she's kept herself in pretty good shape. Yeah, it'll be a nice payday for both of them, Vito and Deloney, for sure. So why wouldn't she take the fight? She'd be a fool not to go in there and take that 15 million, win, lose, or draw. I'm in there. Yeah. I had to work tonight. That's why I ain't go. Yeah. I had to get that money. You know what I mean? I can watch them on on the phone. But no, if I didn't have to work, or if I didn't, yeah, if I didn't have to work, I would have been there. But no, it was a good fight, But like I said, Tony Harrison, man, that boy almost got stopped again, ninth round, and the commentators talked about it. Vito, I know you know who Tony Harrison is. I think we talked about him before. This was I believe, his third time getting dropped in the ninth round. I think he got knocked out by Charlo. Lost to Charlo when he should have won that fight. But it's something about him in that goddamn ninth round, man. That ninth round got a hold to that boy, but he still ended up winning the fight. He pretty much dominated the fight from 1 through 9. But old boy put a really good fight. That fight could have he could have lost that fight. But he's from the city. You know how the judges be. Yeah, I mean, he did his thing, man. I mean, he won the fight, but at the end of the day, this is how I am. If a motherfucker put you on your ass and you didn't put him on his ass, it just really depends, because I didn't catch the beginning of the fight, so I didn't see rounds like I didn't see the beginning of the fight. I should say I saw pretty much from seven. I'm no, not seven, but like from five on from 5 to 10. So I saw half of the fight, and I went on what most of the judges and the commenters were saying. They said Tony dominated most of the fight. So I give him that, but he still went down, man. And that's on your comeback. I don't know what the scorecard was. He definitely won. It was a unanimous decision. So he won unanimous, but again, he went down again, got dropped in the ninth round. His last 3 fights, if I'm not mistaken, he has went down in the ninth round because the commentators, right before he went down was talking about that. They was like, this is that notorious round that Tony Harrison is known for going down in. And right after they said that, this motherfucker got hit with a hook and went down. I couldn't believe it. But at the end of the day, he got up, and he was able to hold his own. He was throwing his shots and he did his thing and won the fight. But my question to you, Vito, I know you're going to go and check out the fight. You may or may be able to answer the question now is, do you think he should have stayed, laid off, and just laid it down? Or do you think this was because the old boy was very aggressive, it's not like Tony Harrison was dominating the fight because from what I saw, old boy was really aggressive with him, and he ended up dropping him. But Tony still won the fight, but my question to you is do you think he should have stayed retired, or do you think he'll be able to get back in there and redeem himself and get back to the Tony Harrison he was before he lost to Charlo? Because he only have that one loss on his record. He has a really great record. I mean, you can't take that from him, but he got a glass Joe motherfucking chin. I would never put my money on him. I promise you. And I give him everything. He's from the city. He got the skills, but that motherfucking chin ain't shit. Glass Joe. I'm not gonna say it was a tune-up fight, because a tune-up fight is getting you probably ready for a motherfucking title. So I don't think he's ready to get in there, and contend for no title or nothing like that. It was just a 2-year layoff comeback fight for him. You know what I mean? Yeah, but he was the pre fight before the Claressa Shields fight, and like I said, at the end of the day, both fights were entertaining. It was a good night for the city. It was a sellout crowd. They sold the city out. I mean, they sold the arena out, so that was a plus. She I pretty much, like, I think 2 fights in a row she sold the arena out, so that was a good thing. It was a good look for the city. The city is probably jumping right now. It's still 150. A lot of shit probably still going on right now. But my question is, well, Vito answered that question. Hopefully, and it sounds like to me because Layla said she needed 8 months to get in shape. And she said it pretty much. She's getting ready to get in shape. I try to be, man. But I see Real Talk with Big Dave is having problems trying to get in. I would love for you to come on in, Vito, and chop it up with your boy. I sent you the link, man. Come on in for a second. But Clarissa did her thing tonight, man. She came out there. Rick Ross brought her out there. He walked her out. To the ring. That was a good look. He came out, he had his Belair out there with him. It was a good look. The city represented, man, like always. We all everybody had their buffs on tonight. That's why I got mine on. Clarissa had hers on. Tony Harrison had his on tonight. Normally I don't come on the show too much, trying to, flex and nothing like that, but I'm representing Clarissa and Tony. I'm representing the city tonight, I should say. But like I said, it was an entertaining night tonight. All fighters did their thing tonight. The co-main event and the main event, they definitely put on the show. Clarissa did her thing. And what a lot of people fail to realize, and I talked about this. During the fight. Clarissa is not a knockout artist. She's only, I believe, like maybe 17-0 now with 3 knockouts. So most of her fights go the distance. So basically, what that means is anyone who gets in there has a puncher's chance at beating her. Shit, nigga, I'm broke. I ain't got no money, baby. Nah, Vito said I can smell a nigga with money. I'm broke, baby. I'm like old boy, and pay. He said how he said, Vito, you know it. He said what he say, I'm broke, baby. I ain't got no money. Yeah, but nah, man. It was a good fight for. It was a good show for the city. I wish I could have been there, but I had other endeavors I had to attend today. You know what I mean? But the city definitely showed out. It was a good look for Clarissa. She definitely showed up and showed out. Tony Harrison, he did his thing, even though he went down in the ninth round, man. I don't understand what that's all about. So when you check that fight out, Vito, I definitely need you to come back and comment, and let me know what you think. Do you think that he should stay retired? Or do you think this was just a tune-up fight for him to get ready for what's next for him? You know what I mean? Because like I said, at the end of the day, he is 30-1. That's not bad. But will most of the will anyone take him serious? You know what I mean? Nah. But no, well, after you watch this fight out, my question to you, Vito, is do you think anyone will take Tony Harrison seriously, I should say. And then not only that, man, that motherfucker chin is you can't I wouldn't put my money on him. Yeah, but I just want to come in and just chop it up for a quick second. I actually Didn't want to, wasn't planning on being in here this long. I just wanted to come in and chop it up with you guys for a quick second. Excuse me, talk about the Claressa Shields fight for a second. Oh, matter of fact, I'm glad. You know what? It must have been meant for you to be to come in, Vito, tonight, because I actually wanted to add this into the title. It was a situation today where your boy Dr. Umar Johnson um is asking the people for money, man. Something happened with his bank account. He came on social media, and I'm not gonna say begging, but a lot of people was talking about that today. And you know what? And it may, from what it sound like Dr. Umar Johnson, man, maybe getting himself caught up in some shit. They may find out that he on some bullshit. Because from the story that he gave, and I don't know if you saw it. Tell me, Vito. Hold on, Vito said he's gonna be used as a stepping stone from now, and I agree. He's gonna probably be one of those veteran fighters, from young and coming up fighters to fight against, and that's probably what you're saying. But tell me if you heard about this goddamn Dr. Umar Johnson thing that's been going on social media today, Vito. I know me and you talked about um Dr. Umar Johnson years ago. So if you not, let me know if you have heard about it. And I pretty much just kind of told you what's going on with him. He came on social media today asking his subscribers and his followers. Um, when that asking, he told them what happened, that his banking account was frozen for the Frederick Douglass Academy, and his personal banking account was frozen. And he asked the people for money. He was like, I need money. I don't have any money. So tell me what you think about that. Okay, yeah, you said you haven't heard about it. So yeah, I just found out about it when I got home. I'm like, wow. So I wanted to add that into the title, but I did not. I just kept it to boxing. But yeah, this is what's going on. Dr. Umar Johnson is saying that his account was frozen because there was suspicious activity going on. He named a few names that he thought that may have been involved in his account being charged with suspicious activity. But now he's asking his subscribers and followers for money. A lot of people don't came on talking about it like, and I just want to get my input, and to me it sounds like he on some bullshit, and I'm just gonna keep it real. This is what I said, because Willie D, this is where I heard it from. Willie D was talking about it, and I made a comment on the Willie D show. I said I used to listen to Dr. Umar Johnson years, probably about maybe about 6, 7 years ago, faithfully, you know, and it was a few things that was kind of suspect about him. And and it just kind of changed my direction on him, But for him to come on here today, and like Willie D said, he said it happens, people accounts get frozen, or fucked up, but the thing that I don't like about Dr. Umar Johnson is he try to talk to motherfuckers like they stupid and shit. Like it's like he got to go watch this interview. It's like he got to repeat himself 3 times. Like this is what he kept saying. My bank account was a frozen, and I don't know why. My bank account was frozen, and I don't know why. Shit like that. Like niggas not understanding what you trying to say. And he says that every other sentence. He's repetitively repeating itself. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Once you watch the interview, you understand what I'm talking about. But like I said, I used to listen to Dr. Umar Johnson. It's been years since I listened to him. Vito, tell me if you know if he ever got to school the Frederick Douglass Academy up and running. Because last time I stopped listening to him, the school wasn't even up. He was getting backlash from a lot of the people who donated money. Okay, Omar versus Seti. Yeah, hey, listen, and I know Seti is talking, and I still listen to Seti. I've been listening to Seti, a lot. I'm gonna go to his page once I'm done with that and see what he got to say. So I haven't done my I'm not gonna say I haven't done my research, but because I heard it from the horse's mouth, from Dr. Umar. But I'm definitely going on Seti's page because I know Seti talking some shit. Because this is the talk of social media right now, and it's really making Dr. Umar look kind of bad. Yeah, if I'm not gonna say if you can go look at it, but no, this is what you know what, and I wish I was on my laptop. I'm doing this from my phone because I was trying to invite people in. I could have showed clips of it. You know what? This is what I'll do. I'll show. I'm going to show a video. I'm going to play the video, and hopefully you guys can hear it. So that's what I'll do. I'm going to try to play the video. Okay, hopefully this is it. See, you got all type of stuff. I just typed something in. You got Dr. Umar exposed. Dr. Umar is broke. So I'm going to put I'm gonna hit the Dr. Umar is broke. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna let me know, Vito. Let me know if you can hear this. You guys should be able to hear what I'm hearing. Across that finish line. Now it's time to celebrate those memories. At Michael's, we help you preserve your keepsake. So I'm gonna play this. Were fraudulently trying to get into my account. And if we find out that's the case, they will be sued. Okay, you can hear it now. Okay, I'm letting you. Okay, I'm gonna rewind it from the beginning. See, and listen to what I was saying in the beginning. Like he's always fucking repeating himself. Like motherfuckers ain't listening to what he's saying. I don't think if he thinks that black folks is not um what's the word that I'm looking for? But just listen to what I'm saying. Here's the interview. So let me know if you can hear it clearly. I believe Medea and Pastor Pussy were fraudulently trying to get into my account. And if we find out that's the case, they will be sued and possibly arrested because fraudulent activity on a bank account is a federal offense. Fraudulent activity on a bank account is federal offense. Right. Fraudulent activity on a bank account is a federal offense. Now I'm going to pause that. See, now I'm going to pause it. See, that's the shit that I be talking about. Like, why the fuck he keeps saying that shit? He says that like probably every 20 seconds he's repeating himself. Like a motherfucker ain't comprehend that shit the first time when he said that shit. 5th to July 10th is the period of suspicious activity. That is from the time Medea went public and I left for South Africa. Between the time Medea went public and I went for South Africa. So brothers and sisters, if you want to make a donation to FDMG, you must send it to PayPal. Hold on, this is an accident. Situation is resolved. Hold off on all FDMG Academy money order and check donations until the situation is resolved. If you want to make a donation to FDMG, send it through PayPal. Vito, you still there? Let me know if you hear this. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. If you want to make a donation to the school, hold off on checks and money orders until we find out. Vito said, Umar. The bank is investigating the fraud. Now I gotta look at my phone, my bad. If I find out Medea and Pastor Bussy had anything to do with this, I can't see that. I was told that they can be arrested for federal offense. I was told they can be arrested for federal offense. I was told they can be arrested for federal offense. Why does he keep saying that shit? With that being said, brothers and sisters, Dr. Umar has access to no money right now. Umar goaded. Listen, I'm gonna pause this for a second. And I said this in my comment, when I commented on Willie D show. I said, "Ooh, Dr. Umar," and I'm not mad at Dr. Umar Johnson. He had some great points, and what he's trying to do with his school was a great thing. If he got that up and running, you know what I mean. But to me, he's no different from the black pastor. He's just out here pimping the black community and getting money from the black community. You know what I mean? And that's it. Money. I only send it to Apple Pay and PayPal as necessary. So the Prince of Pan-Africanism, for the first time in my life, is without any digital currency. So for my loyal supporters out there, if you can spare a few dollars so I can take care of Queen Mother Ifa and myself until my let me rewind that. I'm gonna rewind it. I know Tommy Sotomayor going, listen, that's what and I haven't listened to Tommy in a while. And you know that was my man. I know he been going up, but I'm rewinding. So I can take care of Queen Mother Ifa and myself until my bank account is frozen or canceled so I can get my money back and open up a new account. Please hit my Apple Pay or hit my PayPal. This is diabolical. this is okay. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it because this is the guy who actually was talking about that. So yeah. So from what you heard, Vito, tell me what you think about that situation with Dr. Umar. Do you think that what he's saying is reputable? You know, or do you think he's just lying, trying to scam and get money out of the people? You know, and I'm gonna keep it real with you. I think he just, like I said, he's no different from the pastors in the church, and that's it. You know, and Willie D made a good point. You know, because the people is gonna come asking them for them receipts. Well, go to your motherfucking bank and come back on and show us what you're saying. Um, What up, though? 8 Mile 313. We were just talking about that, and I'm gonna update people what we're talking about. We were just talking about that Claressa Shields fight, the Tony Harrison fight tonight, and we talking about Dr. Umar Johnson. You know, begging his followers and subscribers for money. If people familiar with the Dr. Umar Johnson, what's good with you though, Lonnie? My dog, happy birthday, man. Hopefully you had a great birthday. You know, I wish I could have been there if you had a party or whatever, but I want to wish you a happy birthday, man. Um, I'm right behind you. You just turned 50. That's my dog. You know, and I want everybody to give a shout out to my homeboy Londell Bright. Long lifetime friend, been knowing him since I was in the third grade. I think that's when I met y'all, so a good friend of mine. I just want to say I love you, bro. Happy 50th birthday to you. I'm I hope you had a great 50th birthday. Lifelong friend. I can't say nothing but great things about this man. You know what I mean? He made me um bring out, he brought the best out of me when I competed against this man, and I competed against him from little league all the way up into high school. You know what I mean? I had to battle against this man. You know what I mean? So, but I definitely want to wish that man. I want everybody to wish him happy birthday, happy 50th birthday. And the Lord bless me to see my 50th birthday, in a couple of more weeks. I'm right behind you, baby. But like I said, we were just talking about that Claressa Shields fight, and that Tony Harrison comeback. It was two decent fights tonight. Claressa Shields, she did her thing. She ended up winning. She went the whole 10 rounds with Hannah Laney. It was a good fight. The first rounds through, I say first 1 through 4, she was running. It was a track meet. I'm gonna keep it real. You know what? She was smart. She did her thing. She was not supposed to stand in there and go toe to toe. So they filled each other out 1 through 5, and then I'll say 7 through 10. Old girl did her thing, and she stood there and kind of went toe to toe. If you guys did not see the fight, so it was a good fight. It was a good, entertaining fight. Your boy Tony Harrison made his 2-year layoff comeback fight tonight. end up getting dropped again in the ninth round. His last three fights, he's been dropped in the ninth round. I don't understand that, but he still end up winning. So overall, it was a good fight. It was a good show. It was a good put on for the city. The city definitely showed up and showed out. It was a sellout crowd at Little Caesars Arena. You know, um, like I said, first and foremost, I just want to congratulate Claressa Shields. She's definitely the GOAT. And earlier, and I want you to answer this, 8 Mile 313. Um, do you think Lalea is going to accept that challenge? And tell me, who are you picking to win that fight if Lalea? Because she said she need 8 months to get in shape for that fight. You know. So tell me who you think will win that fight. And we're gonna get back at 8 Mile 313. I want to get back to the conversation that we had that we are having with Vito about Dr. Umar Johnson. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Umar Johnson, but Dr. Umar Johnson is like a black activist. He pretty much try to speak up for the black community, speak to the black community about certain issues, certain topics, certain things that's going on, you know, um, just in the black community, I should say. And today he had a situation, and it's a lot of people out there in the black community that does not agree with Dr. Umar. They think he was already trying to scam from where he was raising money for a doctor for a school that he was trying to open up for youth, for black youth. You know, um, and there was a holdup for that for some years. He had millions that he had collected. You know what I mean? And far as I know, is the school never even opened. Vito, correct me if I'm wrong. Did the school even open up yet? So excuse me, let me go to my channel so I can see you guys' comment because I'm trying to look at my phone and I apologize because normally I would be doing this from my setup from my laptop, but I was waiting on my guest to come in. So let me turn this down because I'm trying to look at all you guys' comments. So okay, here we go. Now I can see it. Okay, 8 Mile 313 said thank you all for the comments for his birthday comments. 8 Mile 313 said Tony needs a new conditioning coach. Right. I agree. I got Clarissa Shields against Alea Ali, been out the game too long. Um, I'm gonna say I agree with you, yes and no. Because once a fighter, or it's always a fighter. Because I'm 50 years old and I know it's some 30-year-old niggas that I'll beat their ass. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? So you can't count them out, because Mike Tyson is what? He's probably about 5 years older than us, and he'll beat a lot of niggas' asses. That Jake Paul shit was some bullshit. So I understand what you're saying, 313. Vito, okay, that was just okay. Yeah, so but yeah, so pretty much that's everything that we were talking about. But yeah, the Dr. Umar Johnson situation, Vito, I need for you to comment on that. Did he ever get to school? This man raised millions to open up this. He actually was in Detroit looking for schools, before I believe he found a school in Philadelphia from where he's from. But today, and this has been all on social media, apparently he's both his accounts, his personal account and his account to his to the Frederick Douglass Academy was frozen, so he came on air, and um a lot of people doesn't believe his story, and this stuff can be proven, because he can put out receipts from the banks saying that his both of his accounts was frozen, because if he can't produce these receipts, a lot of people just think he's going to be lying, especially his followers. Vito said, I'm not sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure neither, Vito, because last I checked, it was the school never opened up. He still had the money, you know what I mean, that he was holding on to. So and a lot of people. So I'm definitely once I'm done with this, I'm definitely going to go do my research again on this. Like I said, I added that um to the fight to the title. Well, I didn't even actually add that. I was going to originally add it to the title, but I did not. 8 Mile 313 said his account. Why did his account get frozen? He claimed that his account was frozen, uh, maybe because of suspicious activity. That's what he said. And he's trying to say it's a few people that he may have in mind that may have been trying to tap into his account for the reason why it was frozen. And I watched this video from the Willie D show. And I made comments. And I'm like, I followed Dr. Umar Johnson for years. Until certain things that would come up in the public, even like with the stripper. I don't know if a lot of you guys remember the stripper that he was certain kind of dating. And Dr. Umar Johnson used to get on motherfuckers about dating black women and marrying black women. And he's been going through a lot of black women and not marrying them. So he gets a lot of flack for just a lot of stuff, and at one point, like I said, I used to listen to um what he was talking about, especially with trying to, educate, because he supposedly is actually a doctor, and that was in question some years ago. And I know Vito knows about that. Oh, but yeah, his account was frozen. He's given a few reasons, that he thought somebody was trying to tap in his account or whatnot, because he said he went to Africa and when he came back, his accounts were frozen. So but a lot of people is looking at him like, he's lying, like he's just trying to get money out of people, which, like I said, 8 Mile 313, he's no different from the black pastor. That's it. He's no different from the black pastor, um, getting money up out of their followers. And I'm just gonna be honest, and that's real. And that's what he's been doing. I'm not, especially if that school is not up and running. Like how he said, and it's been over 10 years ago. He raised millions. Now he's coming to these same people, asking them for money again. Now if he's done what he's supposed to have done with that school, in this situation, because like even Willie D even said it on this show, it does happen where your account may get frozen. That's why sometimes you have to have multiple accounts just in case some shit happen with your original account. So things like that does happen. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? But it's just a lot of issues that's been coming back with Dr. Umar Johnson, like I said, with the stripper, now with him, with his money situation and with the school, most of all. You know what I mean? So yeah, so those are just a few things that we were talking about today, but like I said, I want to give a happy birthday shout out to 8 Mile 313, longtime friend of mine, man. How was your birthday? What did you do? But yeah, man, and I'm gonna give Dr. Umar the benefit of the doubt, and I'm speaking on this just to get you guys' opinion. Vito Andaloni said, "What your Browns or Bengals gonna do? What the fuck you mean, Vito? Hold on, I ain't got no Browns or Lions. And my hat is Detroit. It's what them Lions gonna do. That's what we gonna be talking about next." I don't know what them Brown. I mean, but listen, them Browns, they definitely gonna compete. We can talk about that. Okay, 8 Mile 313 said just chilled at the crib. Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. That's probably what I'm gonna do on my birthday. My birthday is gonna fall on a Sunday this year. So I may just get out, have dinner, and just come back home and chill. Because I'm more than likely have to get up and go to work the next day. But no, Vito, um, uh, I don't fuck with the Browns or the Bengals, but them Browns, and that's a good conversation. What do y'all think them Browns gonna do? And that's a question for Lonnie. I want to ask 8 Mile 313 that question, because he's an ex quarterback. Well, he played quarterback in the little leagues. And may played a little bit in high school too. What do you think? Do you think Zador is going to get out there and do his thing? Vito said, "I thought you was a." Man, cut it out. I'm a Michigan fan. Man, quit fronting, bro. Quit fronting. Quit fronting, Vita. But yeah, Lonnie, let me know what you think about Shador. What do you think he gonna do? Because and I didn't even talk about that. How he fell from the draft, from being projected to be a number one draft pick, falling to where he fell. And then now he's competing with the two other quarterbacks that's already there. So it's a few things we can talk about tonight. And I'm glad you brought that up, Vito. Because that's a good question to ask. Hey, Mile 313. Because he's an ex quarterback. So I definitely want to know your opinion on that Shador Sanders. 8 Mile 313. But yeah, Vito, what do you think our Michigan boy is gonna do this year? With this quarterback we drafted, he's been highly thought of. Do you think he's gonna get out there and produce his first year, his freshman year? And I believe they pay him what, like 10 to 15 million is what the not the recruiters, but the well, he got paid 10 to 15 million to come there. So, what do you think he's going to do? Do you think he's going to be able to produce his first year for Michigan? Okay, 8 Mile 313 said Lions got a new OC defensive coordinator. So if it's hard to say, really, I think Sanders got a chip on his shoulder. I think Sanders will be just fine. Okay, yeah, and matter of fact, I want to ask you that too, Video. I did not, and I just found that out that Ragnu retired, man. Which he got injured a little bit last year, and they filled in perfectly fine. But who did we go out there and draft to replace him? That's going to be a big loss. And we talked about that, Vito. I forgot we talked about that on one of the last shows. As long as he beat our rivals, I'm good. I feel you on that, but which we done that the last 3 years. So I feel you on that. But yeah, I want you to ask that question too, Vito. What do you think Jador is going to do out there in Cleveland? Do you think he's going to prove himself to have been a first round draft pick that failed because of his father, because a lot of people think it got to do with the arrogance of Dion. Now you said number five. Now, what is five? Because I probably forgot what I asked you what that was about. Only time will tell. Yeah, only time will tell. A lot of people, a lot of people probably expecting for them to get out there this year and produce. But that's a lot. That's a lot asking. For a rookie to do. But at the same time, these young players of today are set up to be able to come in, with all the coaching experience and just all the, especially a guy like him, because he's with his father, so he's prepared mentally. I think he'll just have to be prepared with the game speed. You guys got to excuse me. I got to get something to drink real quick. But yeah, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be just fine. I think. Wow, I can't believe I just did that shit. Hold on, y'all. Spilled all this fucking shit. But yeah, he'll be fine. And I think I'm not. He's not going to start. I don't think he'll start. I don't think he'll be the starting quarterback, but I think he'll be set up for whatever quarterbacks that come in that'll start. Because pretty much it's a competition out there in Cleveland. So I think they'll set him up for whoever they put out there as the starter to come out there and take over for that starter once that starter gets in trouble. Because I believe they got Joe Flacco and then the motherfucker that they drafted a few years ago. Y'all gotta excuse me, I just spilled the damn drink that I was pouring. I'm glad this shit didn't almost went all over my equipment. He's Amon 313 said he's most definitely prepared mentally. I agree. He has to get adjusted to the game speed. Right. Yep. And I think that's all. You know what I mean? Because and Lonnie, you know this best. You cannot judge a motherfucker by and I learned this playing against you and watching you. And just watching some, and even Barry, you cannot judge a motherfucker by his size. At all. you know, but yeah, man, I think he'll do just fine once he get adjusted because, like I said, he's been around the professional game his whole life. Knowing, I mean, from his father, I should say. You know what I mean? So he know the game. It's just he just have to adjust himself. So, but like I said, excuse me, I just spilled my damn drink all over myself, and I'm just trying to clean this shit up while I'm talking. Vito Aneloni said, "Who was the best boxer you seen or knew?" Come on now, I don't even know you asking that. I come from a family of fighters. My uncle Keith Lee, which I'm working on a documentary. Excuse me, I'm just trying to clean up this shit. I'm working on a documentary as we speak. Now, about his career and the fighters that he fought. But my best, and we talked about this. The best fighter I thought and saw offensively and defensively is James Lights Out Tony. So tell me what you think about that. Tell me what you think about that pick. Man, I got shit over everything, all over my equipment. So, yeah, so tell me what you think about that, Vito. That's my James Lights Out Tony, man. I always watch, and I find myself to this day. I'll just sit there and watch. And if you're a true fighting boxing fan, and I talked about this with you, Amon 313, some years ago when you were getting your son off into boxing, man. And I tried to follow you with that. You know what I mean? It's definitely boxing is a one-on-one sport. You have nobody out there with you, so you definitely either you got it or you don't got it, but yeah, man. I love like I said, I come from a family of fighters. The man that I looked up to and idoled one of my entire lives was the great Keith Lee Sr. You know what I mean? You can look him up. He worked hand in hand with Emmanuel Stewart at Kronk. He trained James Toney from the beginning all the way up until before he won his first title. You know what I mean? So I've been around a lot of greats. Amon 313 said I like James Toney. My pick is Sugar Ray Leonard, and that's a great pick. I can't disagree with that. Um, okay, Vito said explain why. And I'm explaining why, man. He went from he went from middleweight, and I'll say before middleweight, he went from middleweight all the way to heavyweight. It did not run from a motherfucker, and even that Roy James fight that he lost, a lot of people don't really understand what happened. I do. I know the listen, Roy dodged him for about 3 or 4 years to the point where he couldn't make that weight anymore. He still fought the fight because that was his biggest payday. So he took that fight knowing that he wasn't really going to make the fight. So a day before the fight, he had to get, I believe, 10 pounds of lipo sucked up out of him just to make the weight, and he was drained. And he still went 12 rounds with Roy, even though that bullshit ass knockdown, which really that probably won the fight, but he was exhausted. And Roy to this day will tell you who he think the best fighter uh, uh, of of all time was, and he'll tell you it's James, and that that's the credit that he's given to James without telling you that James is, beat his ass, or you know what I mean? I'm not gonna say he didn't win that fight, but James didn't, he wasn't himself that night. You know what I mean? And Roy will tell you, and sometimes with fighting, man, you can avoid certain people until later in their careers where you may have a chance to beat them, far as them not being able to make the weight. You know what I mean? And that's how he beat him. And a lot of people don't know that, but um that's what happened with that, and why do you think why do you think that they never fought again? Because Roy didn't want that smoke. James never, and this is why, Vito, why I think he's one of the greatest fighter of all. He never dodged a motherfucker. He fought everybody. He laid his life on the line. Listen to and and most fighters do that, and I'm not saying the way how he speak or talk or not, but when he went out there, he gave you a show. He put on a show for people who watched him. um, he put his life on the line. You know what I mean? And I saw him. I was there in the gym. I sparred with him. I boxed with him. Like I said, my uncle was the first motherfucker who trained him. Who was winning when he was winning his IBF channels. I mean, belts and stuff like that. Before he started winning his major belts. But yeah, man. That motherfucker fought with the best. Go to that his I'm not gonna say his last fight, but when he fought the light cruiserweight, everybody had him losing that fight, and he was losing the fight into the 12th round until he knocked that motherfucker out. That was one of the best fights ever. Okay, Vito said, "What's your top 5 pound for pound boxer of all time?" Okay, I'm gonna start off with James Toney 1-on-1. I mean, with my number one. Um, I mean, you got to give it up to Ali, number two. You know what I mean? He's the greatest of all time. Not to, just me, to a lot of people. Um, Let me see. Okay, so we said James, Ali. You said my top. Okay, you got to give it up to Mayweather, baby. Can't forget about him. Mayweather, he's number three. Um, I'm gonna keep it real, bro. And I was not even a big fan of this motherfucker. I was an Earl Spence fan. But you got to give it up to Bud Crawford, bro. You got to give it up to him. You got to give it up to Bud. So I said James, Ali. And Ali wasn't even of my time. So but okay, look, I'll give it to the people of my time. I'll just keep it like it. Okay, I said James, Ali, Mayweather, Bud, and let me think of my fifth one. It got to be a good one of all time. So and Vito said, how pound for pound if he was always heavyweight? Who you talking about? Ali? You got to be talking about. Well, you can't be talking about because Ali wasn't always heavyweight. I don't believe. Maybe until he turned pro. Well, okay. Well, we can take him out then, and I'll ask somebody else. I said James, Mayweather, Bud Crawford. That's three. Shit. Right, you can't pick heavyweights. Okay, all right, I won't pick heavyweights then. I'll take Ali out of it then. Okay, we have James Toney, you have Mayweather, Bud Crawford, um, shit, and I'm really not no. I'm not gonna say I'm not a big fan of his, but you gotta say your boy. What's the Mexican name? Canelo. So you got to put him in there if you're looking at that Canelo, and then I'll give you one more. Shit, I'm gonna keep it real. The nigga, the Hitman Hearns, because he won it. I think he's like a 5-time world champion. So I got to end it off with Tommy the Hitman Hearns, baby. Yep. So tell me if that was a tell me what do you guys think about that top five? What do you think about that top five? And compare it and tell me your top five, Vito, and then 8 313. You tell me your top five. And I agree, you can't pick heavyweights. I mean, which you got motherfuckers like James that went from middleweight to heavyweight. You know what I mean? He was a heavyweight. But no, I agree. If a motherfucker was fighting heavyweight his whole career. So yeah, so that's why I took Ali out and I put Canelo in. So that was my five. So pick a five that's better. But listen, I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. If you're not subscribed to the channel, we are over here meeting all of our goals. We getting close to 1,000 subscribers. And I think I'm gonna try to do something special for my 1,000 subscriber. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but we getting close to that. And that's one of the goals that your boy is trying to meet over here. So I definitely need for you guys to hit that subscribe button. And make sure that you're liking, and then you make sure that you share. Because when you share, it helps my content get out. So I appreciate you guys who's already subscribed to the channel. I appreciate you guys for hitting that like button, and I definitely appreciate you guys for sharing. But yeah, you give me you guys this top fight, your pound for pound fighters. I spill shit over everything. This is crazy. Never go against your rules that you set for yourself. I went against one of my rules. I said I wouldn't have drinks up here by my equipment and shit, and I spilled shit everywhere. But it's been a lot of great pound for pound fighters, so it's hard to choose. So, I tried to pick the most from our era, that we all would know, because it's a lot of great pound for pound fighters that's been out there, since we've been growing up, you know, um, and I left out, I probably left out a lot like Hagler, that motherfucker was a beast, but I don't know how many weight classes he went, but he was a beast. Um, I mean, I can go on naming, but my top all time fighter of all time, and I'm not biased because my uncle trained him. I'm just keeping it real with James Lights Out Tony. He was, I believe, a 7-time world champion. Um, yeah, you know what I mean. And go back to go back to one of his fights, one of his greatest fights. I thought he beat the shit out of Vander. He beat the shit out of Iran Barkley. He beat some greats. Michael Nunn to win his first title. You can go on. But that Vitaly, and I can't remember his name, Vlichko, I can't pronounce it right. But that was one of the greatest all-time fights that he fought. He needed that last and 12th round to win his fight, and he went out there and dropped this motherfucker and stopped him. It was a great fight. So but okay, Vito said Bud Floyd, Jones Jr. I give you the Roy Jones, man. And I'm not no big Roy Jones fan because of that James Tony fight, but he did do his thing. He was dominant, during his reign. And I will give him that, but he dodged a lot of motherfuckers during his career. And you got to really look at that and think about it. And then you see what happened, when he was fighting motherfuckers late in his career. He was getting knocked the fuck out. James never got knocked out, ever, or stopped. But no, I'll give you that. But 8 Mile 313, how did it go with your one son who was boxing, who was training? Is he still training or boxing? But yeah, if you guys watch the fight tonight. Let me know what you think about that Claressa Shields fight. Tell me what you thought about tonight's fight. Tell me what you think about that Tony Harrison fight. Do you think he should continue continue boxing, or should he have stayed retired on his layoff? So it's a few things we were talking about. We were talking about this Dr. Umar Johnson situation. So it's a few things we kind of been back and forth on all subjects. Talking about the Dr. Umar Johnson asking his followers and subscribers for money because his accounts were frozen by the government. He said. Vito Andoloni said, "Do you think Mike Tyson career was overrated? Fuck no, he was a beast." And when I say that, man, look how little that motherfucker is. You know, um, when you look at him now compared to some of the heavyweights that he was fighting motherfuckers 6'4", 6'6", 6'7", and running through them. No, I'm gonna say no. He had a lot of listen. Mike Tyson had a lot of mental issues going on in his career. He had a lot of distractions. I'll put it this way: he had a lot of distractions going on in his life, in his boxing career, and still had a great career. Imagine if he had the discipline, you know, from the women. Imagine if he had the discipline. Because you can't say that he didn't train because he was a hard trainer. He was in the gym, but he just had a lot of issues going on mentally and with women that that put a damper on his career, but he still came back to, I'm not gonna say redeem himself, he still came back and made himself a reputable, he a reputable person, at the end of the day. But Mike Tyson, probably, to me, because I'm not gonna lie, I remember his first fight. I cried when he lost to Buster Douglas. You know what I mean? We were all at my grandmother's house that night. But no, I think he's one of the top five heavyweights of all time, if not the top heavyweight of all time. You have 8 Mile 313. He said Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robertson, Floyd Mayweather, Bud, and Pac-Man. Okay. So you can't listen, you can't go wrong with that at all. Because all were great fighters, all won championships in each division. And all proven, all these fighters proven themselves. And I'm gonna go back to this. And Vito can, contest to this. I was not a big Bud fan, at all. I was an Earl Spence fan. And I still am a Earl Spence fan, but I'm definitely a Bud Crawford fan now, because what he did to my fighter, I couldn't believe, nigga, I lost so much money on that shit. He made me a believer. And sometimes that's what motherfuckers got to do. They got to make you a believer. See, and a lot of people slipping. And I'm gonna go back to the conversation we were having with Shador Sanders. A lot of people is slipping on him 8 Mile 313, and what he's probably going to do, he's going to make motherfuckers believers. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Meaning that he's not the typical quarterback. He's not 6'4". I'm not going to say he don't have a rocket arm because he can get the ball down the field. He definitely has the speed to be able, to scramble and get out there. But 8 Mile 313 said I like Spence too, but I knew he couldn't be. But man, yeah. Listen, I would love to see I would love to see that. I would love to see that rematch, but I don't think that will ever happen. Especially now since he's getting ready to fight Canelo. That's who you got. You know what? That's a good question. Who do you guys are picking in that Bud Canelo fight? And y'all gotta excuse me. I'm still wiping up shit. I spilled so much juice and shit over all my shit. Yeah, man. Listen. And I'm gonna be honest. I knew who Bud was. I saw him fight, but I did not think that he would be able to handle the pressure that I was always and Vito, because you was going to fucking Spence fights. So I know you probably thinking the same thing that probably how I feel. What up, BJ3? What's so crazy? And I lost money to BJ3 too. Bud got him. Yeah, Bud did get him, man. And I know you watched that Clarissa, and we were you coming in on the back end of this. We were just talking about the yeah, Bud got him before I go off on that. But yeah, Bud did get him, man. It made me a believer of Bud. I knew who he was, but I was so much of a Crawford, a Spence fan that I did not think Bud was going to be able to handle the pressure in the left hand from Crawford. But he proved me wrong. He made me a believer. But my question to you guys now is who's going to win that fight between Bud and Canelo? BJ said Bud will beat Canelo. 8 Mile 313 said Canelo. Okay, I'm waiting on what you say, bet? Who you going with? BJ3? I'm definitely not going to go against. Listen, if you're talking about bet on that, I'm definitely not going to go against Bud going against Canelo because after watching that last Canelo fight, he did not he did not impress me to the point where I think he's going to be able to beat Bud. How many people agree with me on that? And not saying that he didn't fight a good fight, but he did not impress me to the point where I thought he should have been able to stop that guy. Vito said at first Canelo, but now I'm not sure. Well, if you had to pick, well, you said Canelo, but yeah, I'm not. Listen. After seeing what Crawford did to my man, and I know you thinking the same thing too, Vito. Because I know you were a Spence fan. I'm not betting against Crawford against Canelo. And not saying Canelo still don't got it. Because he has a great defensive. He's developed over the years a Floyd Mayweather defense. He's copied. I'm not gonna say he's copied, but he's gained the skills of a Floyd Mayweather. He's hard to hit. He's good with the defense. And he's gonna outbox you too. So it's gonna be a great fight. Bud is definitely not gonna. BJ3 said I agree with you 100%. You know, if you can't beat him, join him, and that's what he did. You know, but yeah, man. BJ3, tell me what you think, and I know you watched it. Tell me what you thought about that Clarissa Shields fight tonight. Matter of fact, fuck the Clarissa Shields fight, because I know what you're thinking. Tell me what you thought about that Tony Harrison fight. Do you think that he needs to continue fighting, or do you think that was do you think that was a good fight for him, man? Tell me what you think about tonight's fight. Wow, I can't believe I spilled so much stuff everywhere. Wow, this shit did go over my shit. Excuse me, y'all. So I'm talking to you guys and I'm cleaning up juice that I spilled all over my equipment and stuff. So I'm trying to make sure. But yeah, BJ3, my guy Tony. BJ3 said he can collect a few more checks, that's it. Don't F with the chaps or KO. Wow. Yeah, but it's gonna be a good fight, man. So what do you think? What do you think? Because I believe the Sheiks are promoting this fight. So do you? You know what? I think they already said it. They said this fight needs to be in Vegas. If I'm not mistaken, am I mistaken, BJ3? I know you know this fight is going to be in Vegas, right? See, and look, I still got shit from this, y'all. Y'all see that? That was my man's man. But no, I believe the Sheiks are going to be promoting this fight, and I think they said that they want to have this. You know what? I'm mistaken. They said that for the Canelo. Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. The Canelo and Bud fight. This fight should be fought in Vegas, September the 13th. Okay. And who did you say you were going for, BJ3? I'm going, like I said, I'm going for I can't go against Bud for the simple fact that he did his thing against, my guy, Bud's a complete fighter. Listen, he's done what only a few people have ever done. So you got to give him one. He's got to be in your top five for pound, um, best fighters of all time. Say Tony needs a new nutritional and a new conditioner. Tony eats a lot of junk food. I agree with you, man. Because and BJ3 can contest to this too. Because he's a big boxing fan. And tell me if I'm wrong. I believe it was the last three fights he's gotten dropped in the ninth round. So that's letting you know. And hey, my 313 just said it. His condition is not what it should be to the point where he's going down his last few fights in the ninth round. Vito Andoloni said Bud versus Floyd, both prime. Who you got? That's a tough decision, but I'm gonna go with Floyd, bro. And the reason why I'm going with Floyd right now is because Bud is still fighting, and it's a chance he may lose. And that's the reason why I said that now. But I wasn't always a big Mayweather fan. BJ3 said Bud. I wasn't always a big um Mayweather fan. It was because that division was loaded. And BJ3 can tell you. But yeah. I definitely would go with I would go with Mayweather. Tony lost to her at the end. Uh yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, 8 by 313. Man, Harrison, bro, he got a lot of he got a big decision he got to make. You know, his promotion, his training staff, because how can you keep getting dropped in the ninth motherfucking round and expect for your team to believe in you and your promoters to continue to put money behind you? You know, you've been on a 2-year layoff. Who fighting at 140? Vito. Well, if you're talking about Bud and Mayweather, it would depend on what weight class they would fight at. I think at a smaller weight class it would be Mayweather all the way, because he was more dominant. I'm not gonna say he was more dominant. You know what? I will say that because he was knocking more motherfuckers out when he was lighter than he was heavy. Because you got to think about it. In his later in his career, he was going the distance with a lot of motherfuckers. But no one talked about this yet. You got your boy Tank Davis getting ready to fight your boy Lamont Roach coming up this upcoming month. I believe August 19th, if I'm not mistaken. Who you guys picking? And I'm gonna give you my guys who I'm picking first. I'm going with your boy Tank for the simple reason that I think he's gonna be the Tank that he wasn't in that last fight. I think that he let Roach do a lot of things that he didn't allow a lot of other fighters to do. He allowed him to, and Roach wasn't scared. So it's going to be a great, entertaining fight. I can't wait. But I think Tank gonna stop him. He has to. Vito said Floyd Bud. Okay, that's an old one. But yeah, tell me who you guys think. Because those are the next talks we're gonna be talking about and doing shows about BJ3. And matter of fact, I'm gonna start doing them within the next week or so, talking about this Tank Roach fight. Because that was a great fight. It went 12 rounds. The fight could have went either way. It was a lot of controversy with that fight with Tank taking the knee. It wasn't because of a shot that he took. It was because of the hair got in his eye. And I understand that. I can understand where he came from. But if you go by the rules, when your gloves touch that canvas, it's automatically a standing 8 count. So I'm not going to take nothing away from Roach. BJ3 said he got Roach. Now I will put some money on that. BJ3, we can bet the same money we bet that I lost to you on the Spence and Bud fight. So we can bet that back. So bet that back, BJ3. So that's an automatic bet back, baby. Because I'm going everybody who I lost money to in that Spence fight, I'm definitely trying to get it back. Okay, listen. I agree. He took a knee. That should have been an 8 count. I said that. That should have been an 8 count. So it should have been it was a draw. But the fight could have went either way, bro. I'm not taking that from Rose. Hey, my 313 said, but his Tank mind right? He just got out of jail. When did he go to jail? I know he had did a little time before the first fight, but I think his mind will be right, man. You know what I mean? I think when a person is going through anything like getting out of jail or going through a bad situation, the best thing for them is doing what they do best. And what's best for Tank is boxing, knocking niggas out. There we go, BJ3. Bet back on Bud. What you mean? With that Canelo? No, I'm talking about on that Tank. BJ3 said he just got put last week. I'm not understanding what you're saying, BJ3. Okay, I see you said that you up. Okay, yeah, that's a bet deal. But what did you mean when you said he just got put last week? He just got put in jail? Man, I gotta go. Hey, you guys, hold on for 1 second. I gotta go. I'll be like 30 seconds. Hold on. All right, here I come, y'all. No, I had to go get a wet towel. I got shit everywhere, y'all. But go ahead and get them. But yeah, man. You know, it was some good fights tonight. Claressa Shields did her thing. She won a unanimous fight against Haney. I forget her last name for now, but Haney. Um, she defended her title. Got a 10th round decision. Tony Harrison made his comeback tonight. He won a 10 round decision also. We've been discussing that Canelo Bud fight. You know, I think a lot of people probably will pick Bud. Um, you know, who do you think gonna be the favorite? You know, do you think Vegas is going to put Bud the favorite? But before we get back to that, I want to talk a little bit more about this Roach Tank fight. You know, because it's have it been getting BJ3? Has this fight been getting a lot of publicity like it was the first time around? Because I have not been seeing that much publicity on this fight. Canelo the favorite? Oh wow. Over Bud? It's gonna be a lot of money made. Canelo, a sideshow. Vito said Canelo a sideshow for sure. Hold on, Canelo a side for sure. My bad. So you picking Canelo, Vito, over Bud? BJ3 said it's his division. I mean, but I understand what you're saying, BJ3. But shit, Bud just fought in that division and proved himself. So you know that don't really mean nothing. And BJ3, you know, at the end of the day, um, Canelo, I'm not gonna say he's not that true weight, but he ended up in this weight class later in his career. You know what I mean? Meaning that I'm not saying that he couldn't make a lower weight class Bud moving up 2 divisions. Yeah, but I'm not saying that Canelo couldn't make. And later, he's late in his career at trying to make a lower weight class. So he's going with what his body is allowing him to make. He can't make that Bud weight like how Bud can go up and down. Is what I'm trying to say. If you understand what I'm trying to say. But Bud takes the power with him. See, and that's the difference. See, the difference is I don't think Canelo, if he was to ever try to go down to a weight class, he would lose his power. Bud is still going to be continue. He will be able to keep his power, may even gain more power. Moving up 2 weight divisions. Okay, I get what you're saying. That's why you say he's the favorite. But I mean, that's for right now. Leading up to the fight, that may change, BJ3, and you know that. So again, excuse me, y'all. I'm trying to wipe. I spilled juice all over my shit. I'm trying to talk to y'all and clean all this stuff up. I got spilled juice everywhere, all over my equipment. But yeah. Can Bud take Canelo's power? I'm gonna say yes. Because it was proven he took Spence's power, even though Spence really didn't hit him with a lot of shots that night. He did take a few shots that I think that he will be able to take Canelo's power. Because I'm gonna keep it real. Canelo is a great fighter to me, but I don't think he'll be able to beat a fighter with the caliber of Bud. And Bud, I'm not gonna say Bud is the same type of fighter of Floyd, but at the same time, he is kind of that same type of fighter and can fight that same type of fight that Floyd fought when he beat Canelo. Because you got to think about it. Bud is in the prime of his career. Canelo is more like on a down. I'm not going to say the downfall of his career because he's still contending, but he's not more of in his prime as Bud would be. BJ3 said Bud sending lightweights home from camp. And then BJ3 also said nobody knows but Bud. Main sparring partners is 168. Yeah, he's fighting probably motherfuckers that's bigger than that. You know how it is, BJ3. Shit, I was fighting motherfuckers that was bigger than me. I'm quite sure he in there fighting motherfuckers that's, a little bit, getting prepared for this fight. Motherfuckers that's 170, 175 maybe. Getting ready for the power that Canelo may possess or hit him with. Wow, I got shit everywhere. But no, man, it's definitely gonna. I just want to look at the end of the day. I want to see an action-packed fight. Um, we know it's going to be a lot of. There's not going to be no running. Somebody's going to go down. Bud's not going to run, nor Canelo. I think Canelo will be the aggressor of this fight. And you guys let me know, who do you think will be the aggressor? I think Canelo will be the aggressor. Bud will start off more of a counter fight, and then towards the end, he'll be more of the aggressor because he's been figured Canelo style out, and the fight he'll be able to turn the ties, I should say. Okay, BJ 8 Mile 313 made a great a good point. Bud is older than Canelo. Yeah. Um, but to me, when you look at it, it looks like Canelo is more of the older fighter, 313, if you kind of understand what I'm saying. Bud may be older, but where they're at in their fighting careers, to me, it looks like Canelo is more of the older of a fighter, if you get what I'm trying to say. BJ3 said that's what I mean, light, heavyweight, dude canceled his fight because he had headaches sparring Bud. Yeah, I'm quite sure Bud is in there sparring with motherfuckers 175, 180. So I think he'll be able to get in there and take the power of Canelo. Maybe even get Canelo his first loss by a stop. Because somebody's going to go down, because neither fighter, Canelo is going to bring it to him. Canelo thinks he's probably going to be able to stop Bud, but um, Bud probably is the stronger hitter out of the two, I think. 8 Mile 313 said Bud can crack. Yes, I agree. BJ3 said, yup. BJ3 said he agreed. Yeah, so it's gonna be a good fight. But again, let's get back to that the fight that's getting ready to come up next month. You got Tank and Lamont Roach, who it was a draw of their last fight. What do you guys think will be the difference maker in this fight from each fighter? What's going to make the difference in this fight? I think, and I'll give my opinion first. I think, I think, I think, I think Tank will come out more aggressive. He allowed for Lamont to be a little bit more physical than a lot of fighters that he fought in the past. I think he's going to come out more physical. Tank normally don't warm up until the later rounds. I think this time around his trainers will have him more prepared than he was that last fight. Um, and it'll be a different outcome. I think he's gonna stop Lamont Roach. You know, so you guys give me your opinion. BJ3 said somebody going down. I definitely agree. BJ3 said Roach ain't scared and can take Tank's power. Tank got rocked and might get set down. Wow. Nah, man. I mean, listen, I don't think Lamont hitting with no shots to the point where it looked like I'm not going to, and I'll give you that, BJ3, but I think it'll be different. I think it's going to be more like how that Tank and Frank the Ghost Martin fight was. I think this time he's going to bring it to him. He's going to hit him with some shots, and it's probably going to end like how it ended in that Frank the Ghost Martin fight. 8 Mile 313 said he think Roach broke the code. Okay, tell me why you think that, man. Because he won 12 rounds? Because that wasn't Tank's first 12-round fight. So that's saying a lot, 8 Mile 313. What did Roach do to the point where you thought he broke the code? No, I mean they have. They've been fighting. Listen, they've been fighting each other since they were six, but it's a difference when you're a professional. And Tank is a champ, which Roach is a champion too in this weight division, in the lower division, I believe. But it's a difference when you're a pro. Um, and and Tank possess. Listen, the power that Tank possessed when he was an amateur and now is a big difference. He's a lot more explosive. He has a lot more experience than he did. Definitely ring experience. And he definitely proved to be a knockout artist, and he can take you the whole 12-round distance. Not saying that Roach can't, because he's proven he has some power and he can go 12 rounds. So it's definitely going to be a exciting fight. But my question to you guys is, what do you think Roach is going to be able to do different? Because we know what Tank can do. You know, Roach, he put on a good fight, but can he do it again? You know, I have a few people in watching. I need for you guys to make sure that you're liking, you're subscribing, and you're sharing to the channel. It helps the channel grow. The channel has definitely been growing. I want to thank the subscribers who subscribed to the channel thus far. I need for you guys to make sure that you're liking and you're sharing. You know, a lot of people watch the show, a lot of people watch the channel, but they're not liking and they're not sharing. You know, when you share, it helps me get in the YouTube algorithm. You know, and even when I put shows out on Facebook, you know, I would prefer you guys to actually come on YouTube, because that helps me get the credit and the views that I need over here on YouTube. So, but like I said, I want to thank everybody who's subscribed this far. I want to thank everybody who's been rocking with your boy this far. You know, I won't forget. You know, because eventually your boy is going to hit his goals over here. You know, and I'm going to remember, you know, who rocked out with me from the beginning. You know, but yeah, you know, tonight was a great night for the city of Detroit. Claressa Shields hosted a fight tonight. She brought the city out like she normally do. It was a great fight. BJ3, give me your thoughts on the Tony Harrison and the Claressa Shields fight tonight. You know, and then we're gonna pretty much end it off with that. We've been on here for, you know, a few hours. I have to, you know, I know I have to get up and go to work tomorrow. You know, and I just wanted to come on here and talk to you guys and chat about the fights tonight. You know, what you guys thought about the fight card tonight, and pretty much the whole Claressa Shields fight, and mainly the Tony Harrison fight. You know, I couldn't believe that this guy still went down in the ninth round again. You know, but yeah, man, that Lamont Roach fight, that Tank Lamont Roach, is going to be an awesome fight. You know, I hope Lamont Roach bring that same energy he brought that last fight, because if he don't, it's over with. You know, because he fought a good fight and he did not fight scared. I'll give him the credit. He got in there. He Okay, BJ3 said Roach doesn't have to do anything different but press a little bit more. Okay, all right. And he also BJ3 also said, like two shares does, hold on. Like in two shares, does how many shares matter? I don't know. BJ3 said entertaining night of fights in the D. Yes, definitely was. You know, Claressa Shields, she brought the city out. You know, she had Rick Ross walk out with her. And it definitely was a good look for the city. Um, it was a sellout crowd. Everybody can't sell out the crowd all the time. You know, she definitely sold the crowd out, and it was a good event. You know, they entertained the fans of Detroit tonight. It was just a good look for the city. So I just want to give a shout out again to Claressa Shields on her W. You know, and I'm going to even give a shout out to Tony Harrison, you know, for his W. You know, he went out there, he did his thing. He was laid off for 2 years, made his comeback and got the W. You know, at the end of the day, that's what all it counts is the W. It doesn't matter how you get it. You can get it through knockout, or you can get it through a 12-round decision. It doesn't matter. A win is a win and a loss is a loss. He got that W, so that's all that matters. He definitely 313. 8 Mile 313 said it. He definitely needs to probably get a better conditioning coach. Um, because the power definitely wasn't there. The conditioning, I'm not going to say it wasn't there because he was able to go to 12 rounds, but he may need to look into getting a new chin. Because really 313, 8 Mile 313, that's what it is. That motherfucker, because he went the distance. That chin just can't go the goddamn distance is what's going on with him. But it was an entertaining night tonight, man. I want to thank all you guys who came on and watched the show tonight. I want to thank everybody who commented. That's what it's about. It's about interacting and commenting. I love when you guys interact and you comment, that helps it helps the show. It helps me be able to talk back with you guys and communicate. That's what it's all about. Vito said Harrison ain't got no chin at all, and that's what I said. He need to get a new chin. He's Glass Joe, and that's what he is. But at the end of the night, I want to thank everybody who made their comments. It's definitely been a good conversation. Vito, you still haven't told me who you picking in the Tank and Roach fight? I think everybody else made their decision. You didn't. You said you didn't know. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. But BJ3, we definitely get that bet with that Canelo Bud fight. Like I said, I lost a lot of money with that Bud and Spence fight. Bud definitely made me a believer. I'm not gonna say I wasn't a believer of Bud, but I was just a big Earl Spence fan. I was definitely caught by surprise by what he was able to do. He impressed me. He's a great fighter. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. It's going to be a great fight between him and Canelo. I think, like I said, Canelo be more of the aggressor. Bud is also a counter fighter, and he can be aggressive too. But he's more of a counter fighter. He'll let you bring the fight to him, and then he'll counter off of what you're doing. It's going to make for a great fight. The Tank Davis the Tank Davis Roach fight. That's going to be another great fight. But I think this time around, you know, Tank will be a little bit more focused. He'll be a little bit more aggressive to the point where he'll put pressure on Roach, and Roach won't be as much as aggressive that he was that last fight. The pressure will stop a lot of the things that he was able to get off um, in that last fight, and that's what pressure does to most fighters. It won't allow you to get the things off that you're normally used to, and that's what happened. Um, and they were two fighters that knew each other. They fought, multiple times as amateurs, but at the end of the day, it's a whole different type of fighting when you're a professional, you're out there, and Tank is the champion. You know what I mean? He's the man to beat. So he's going to be more of the aggressor. I think he'll do what he needs to do to continue to be the Tank that he is. Vito said, "What happened when you sparred James Toney?" Um, well, when I sparred James Toney, I'm not going to say that he was in there trying to knock me out or no shit like that. It was a good we sparred. It was a good session. Um, I hit him with some good shots. He definitely hit me with some shots to let you know, like, young fella, I'm here with you, hit you with these shots to let you know that you ain't ready yet. Because at that time James was, I believe, 5 or 6 years older than me. Actually, maybe a little bit. I think 5 or 6 years older than me at that time. So I was, a little bit younger than James, but I held my own. I hit him with some shots. You know, and it was always like that when we sparred. I sparred him multiple times. You know what I mean? So it was always a good challenge for me. It made me the man that I am today with throwing these hands, I should say. What I mean, being there with him. Because you definitely have to be, because he's a counter shotter. So when you throw a shot, he's always looking to hit you with a shot back. So you have to watch shots that you're throwing because you have to make them count and you got to be looking out because when you throw a shot, he's going to be looking to counter it to hit your ass back. So you would get hit with a lot of shots if you would not prepare. So and that's what the Canelo and Bud fight is going to be about. It's going to be about that because both two fighters are good counter fighters. So I think I think it's going to be a great fight, and at the end of the day, I think Bud has what it takes to be able to give Canelo his second loss. Because a lot of people has got in there with Canelo and thought that they were going to be able to do what Floyd did and was not successful. But I think this will be the second person that'll be successful against Bud. But I'm not going to hold you guys up too long. I want to thank everybody who came in, commented, on the who commented on the show, I should say. If you're not a subscriber, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's been another one. It's your boy Damn D, and I am out. Peace.